Cultures of Australia, and Why We're Better for It. Part 4. Middle Eastern Australians, particularly those from Egypt, Iraq and Syria, have shaped Australia for over a century. A prime example of influence is Egypt. Egyptian migration largely escalated after World War II and has grown steadily ever since. Examples of influence include community and faith, where Coptic Orthodox churches, festivals, youth groups, and welfare networks anchor Egyptian-Australian community life. Medicine and STEM. Egyptian Australians have high representation in healthcare, research, IT, and engineering. Arts and media. Egyptian Australians contribute to comedy, broadcasting, writing, and screen work, with some well-known examples including stand-up comedian and writer Ayman Rahmani, actor, director, and playwright Anita He, and TV host and lawyer, Waleed Ali. Other notable people include Egypt-born federal MP and senior minister Dr. Ann Ali, Professor Naguib Kanawati AM, a major figure in Egyptology and ancient history scholarship. Professor Ahmed El Moafi, a leader in satellite positioning and navigation. And Professor Ayman El-Ikwa, an academic in medicine and dental health sciences. Southeast Asia. Southeast Asian communities, particularly those from Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and the Philippines, arrived in Australia mainly from the 1970s through refugee and family migration. A specific example of Southeast Asian influence is Vietnam. Vietnamese Australians have turned hardship into one of the country's most visible multicultural success stories. Tens of thousands of Vietnamese refugees began arriving in 1975, following the Vietnam War, and many arriving after perilous boat journeys. This became one of Australia's largest humanitarian migration programs. Examples of influence include Vietnamese food, which has moved from migrant kitchens into everyday Australian life, becoming a staple of lunch strips, markets, and food courts nationwide. Small business and family enterprise. Vietnamese Australians built economic security through bakeries and cafes, fresh food shops and grocers, and nail salons and hospitality. These businesses revitalized many suburban centers. Notable Vietnamese Australians include comedian and author An Do, Anulik Chanthavong MP, a senior New South Wales cabinet minister, Luke Nguyen, the public face of Vietnamese food in Australia, and AFL player Quoc Viet Warring, who represents Vietnamese Australians in one of the country's most culturally symbolic arenas. South Asia. South Asian links to Australia date as far back as the 1800s, most visibly through Indian workers such as cameliers and hawkers. As Australia moved fully into non-discriminatory immigration settings in the 1970s, skilled migrants and family reunion increased from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Afghan migration, meantime, has been strongly shaped by humanitarian pathways across multiple periods of conflict. An example of influence is India. Rapid expansion of the Indian-Australian population occurred from the 1990s, driven by skilled visas, postgraduate study, IT and health workforces, and subsequent family reunion. Examples of Indian cultural influence are food and everyday eating culture. Indian cuisine is now a mainstay of Australian food life. Dishes like butter chicken, dal, dosa and chai are widely familiar and help normalize shared plates, vegetarian options, and spicy flavors in Australian dining. Indian Australians have made religious and cultural festivals, such as Diwali, visible in public space, while Hindu temples now form part of Australia's religious landscape. Strong impact has also been felt in universities and international education, STEM fields, research, medicine, and academia. India's emphasis on education has reinforced Australia's knowledge economy and global academic links. Yoga, well-being and spirituality. Practices with Indian origins such as yoga, meditation, and mindfulness are now mainstream. Ayurvedic and holistic health ideas have also influenced Australian approaches to well-being, balance, and mental health. Prominent Indian Australians include Lisa Singh, the first woman of Indian heritage to be elected to federal parliament. Scientia Professor Veena Sahajwalla, a leading UNSW materials scientist and inventor associated with green steel innovation. Professor Chennupati Jagadish, an eminent physicist and researcher, and president of the Australian Academy of Science. And Taran Gupta, a senior business leader and CEO of the Stockland Development Group. Polynesia. Polynesian migration, particularly from New Zealand, Samoa and Tonga, has reinforced Australia's role as a Pacific nation. Influences include sport. Polynesian Australians have made a major impact on sport, especially rugby league and rugby union. Strength, teamwork and discipline, central Polynesian values, are embedded in Australia's sporting culture. Community, faith and family life. Churches play a central role in Polynesian Australian communities, fostering strong intergenerational bonds, collective responsibility, leadership development and youth programs. This emphasis on family, respect, and service has influenced broader conversations around community resilience and belonging. Polynesian traditions have also enriched Australia's cultural life through dance forms such as the haka, drumming, choral singing, and harmonies, and festivals and cultural showcases. Africa. Africans have been arriving in Australia for a very long time, but in very different waves, for different reasons. For example, people of African descent were among the convicts on the First Fleet in 1788. More recently, major waves have come through humanitarian pathways, particularly from the Sudan and Somalia. Finally, an honorable mention for the United States of America. While large-scale migration from the US has been limited, American influence has been profound through popular culture. Film, television, music, sport, technology, and consumer trends have strongly shaped Australian entertainment, language, lifestyle, and global outlook.